A scar is a place where the light enters through. And I believe every scar has a story. May it be physical scar, cultural scar, heartbreak, mental scar. I believe every scar has a story. And in our today's episode, I'm going to share a story about my scars.
Wounded soldier on the ground, broken, bleeding, beaten down, feeling defeated, feeling not needed.
I want to take you way back in 2013, 31st September. So it was just a normal day. But even before that 31st, it was on a Monday. Before that 31st, things were happening in a way that I could feel there's something that was going to happen to me. But sikuwa najua ni nini. But I felt kuna kitu ita happen. And I didn't know a better way to prepare for that thing that was going to happen. And on that fateful morning, Monday morning, I remember I had just joined college and I woke up late that morning. Nikamka late, I didn't take breakfast, woke up late, prepared myself and went to school. I used to stay in Ngara that time. Wenye wanajua Ngara wanajua pale Equity hapo Desai. So mimi nikaamka, nikarush chuo. But I used to nilikuwa na feel there's something that is off. And in the back of my mind, nilikuwa najua kuna kitu it happen, although sikuwa najua ni nini. So mimi nikaenda chuo, I went to school, studied, class ilikuwa inaisha 2, then I went back to my place. And then before niishi hiyo place nilikuwa naishi, I used to stay kwa hostel. So cause nilienda hostel, nilipata keja so most of my friends walikuwa wanaishi hostel. So most of the time nikitoka chuo napitia hostel na tulia hapo na mabeshte hadi jioni na kula sapa huko, then naenda keja. Then that day I went to their house. I didn't even take lunch. Nikarudi tena nikaenda hostel around saa 10. Tukatulia huko na mabeshte zangu. I had a friend of mine, I don't remember his name. Nikikumbuka story ikiendelea nitawaambia. Sikumbuki jina yake. So nikaenda hostel, nikatulia naye hapo. Then akaniambia around 5 something ndo alinichapia akaniambia, "Hey bro, niaje nipeleke hapa factory, kuna kitu nataka kushika hapo." I remember I refused when he asked me for the first time. I refused. Nikamwambia mimi I don't feel like going to factory. Then he asked me the second time. I refused. Then the third time, I felt bad cause he was my friend and he used to take me to places. So I finally admitted to take him to factory. See how tukaenda factory. Wenye anajua factory hapo Ngara, kuna hizo barabara mbili. Kuna barabara yenye inatoka na Thika inaenda town, na kuna lenye inatoka town inaenda na Thika. So si tumetembea, hostel yetu ilikuwa karibu tu na the main Thika, the main Murang'a Road, the main road. Kufika hapo akaniambia, "Hey, kuna beshte yangu aligongewa hapa, akapasi." Nikuniambia hivyo, mimi nikamwambia, "Hey, msee ugongo ukiwa naye unakimbia unamwacha." I remember those are the exact words that I said. Msee ugongo ukiwa naye unakimbia unamwacha. Then nikaona people were crossing the road, so nikamwambia siwache nivuke nao. Mimi nikaingia kwa barabara. Kuingia sijui niliingia late because people were crossing. Mimi nimeingia, I was expecting vehicles to slow down, but wapi. Kuingia hivi kuinua macho niko katikati ya barabara. naangaliana macho kwa macho na driver wa basi ya Githurai. Ilikuwa like I would say 5 meters to the mahali nilikuwa nimesimama. So nilikuwa lane ya katikati. If nikimbia niingie lane nyingine, gari zinapita zingenigonga. Nikirudi hivi bado zinapita ingenigonga. So nao nikabaki hapo katikati ya barabara, mimi face to face with a 52 seater bus ya Githurai, jioni ikiwa iko packed full. So nikiwa hapo, I remember I looked through the windscreen and I saw the driver. Alikuwa amevaa shirt ya white, kuna mikono refu imefold, and then he had opened, I think, the last 2 buttons zilikuwa amefungua, ameshika steering. Tukaangaliana. Then I think I would say I don't want to give the credit to myself, but I always thank the Lord because of how quick I thought. Because nikiwa hapo kwa barabara nikafikiria, nikingoja gari nigonge, it will break my bones, or maybe break my spinal cord, or give me an internal injuries zenye zinaweza cause death. So I thought quickly, nikasema I'd rather sacrifice a half of my body than kuwait gari nigonge. So what did I do? Mimi nikalai kwa barabara, nikaanguka chini. That's when I got I have a scar here, nitaiweka hapa kwa hii video muone. So ndo nilianguka hivi na chini. Kuanguka, driver haku slow because ni thicker road and there's no way he could have slowed down. Mimi hapo akanipitia 52 seater, ikanipitia, it rolled over my abdomen, breaking my pelvic bones. This one was broken into 3 times. It was crushed, not even broken. And this one was broken, I think, 2 times, if I can remember. So the driver didn't stop after rolling on me. So what I remember is myself spinning on the tarmac, on the highway. Even niliamka nikizunguka cause nilifeel hiyo impact ya gari kipita jangu. Then what I could remember is myself spinning on the tarmac. And I remember even the clothes that I was wearing a jeans, a short and a boxer. Hapa nyuma they all got burned by the friction of the tarmac. Zote zikachomeka, my belt ikachomeka, the short was burned, my boxers, until I also got burned. I don't know how many degrees. I'll check with the doctor's report. I was burned here by the friction ya barabara. So mi nasikia nduru ya mama na wase wenye walikuwa wanavuka barabara. But the first thing that came in my mind when I was spinning on the road was a scripture in the book of Romans 28:8. Romans 8:28. I think Romans 28:8. It says, all things work for good for them that love the Lord. That is the first thing that came in my mind when I was spinning on the road. And nikiwapo, I didn't know the extent of my injury at that time, but I would hear people screaming. The women we were with when we were crossing the road, I heard them scream. The people were around there, and the bus stopped for like 30 seconds and it left. But now I didn't know the extent of my injury. I thought it was just something small that I would maybe go to the dispensary or go to the hospital and get treated by myself. Then I remember myself folding my toes to see if they are still working because I was numb. When I folded, nikajua, hey, my spinal cord has not been touched. But I didn't know the extent of my injury. So now, I was still laying on the road. Gari zinapita. Once I remember there's a Pajero that almost hit me. Passed by I think my right or I don't remember, my left. I was still on the road. So guys got in the road. Blocked the traffic. Then they carried me to the hizo vitu za ujengewa kwa bara sikumbuki wala zinaitwa. So now the interesting part is when I tried to sit down, sinikajaribu to sit on the, don't remember what's the name of those things ujengewa kwa kando ya barabara. I tried to sit on them and my bones moved up. And then there was this crunchy sound, like I heard like the bones were crushed. When I tried to sit down, they moved up and I couldn't sit down. That's when I knew I was injured. And that's when I knew the extent of my injury. But still, I had not given up because I wanted to I didn't want to involve my parents. I just wanted to do it by myself, get treated, and later tell them. Kumbe uchungu iko imekuja. So now, when I sat down nikasikia zimepanda, what I did is, because I couldn't sit, I just held on those pavements like this for around because I was knocked at around 6:44 in the evening. I sat there for almost an hour and my hands, I got tired. We tried to persuade taxis to carry me to the hospital, but they were saying, hey, mi siwezi beba msee kufia kwa gari yangu. My shoe had even been knocked out of my feet. So then now I got annoyed because we were trying to persuade with taxis to carry me, but they all refused. Now I had no option. I tried to reach out to my uncle who used to live in Tuaki, Nairobi that time. I called him, he told me, hey, hukujua I was given a transfer to Mombasa. Then now that's when the light started to dim. I knew now I have to call my dad. I called my dad. My dad was in Nyeri that time. Music festivals, I don't remember. I called him, he told me I'm in Nyeri, but let me organize with your brother to see what we can do. No one was around Nairobi. I was all alone in Nairobi. So he called my brother. My brother called some of his friends in Nairobi. And before then, Mom had not been told that I had gotten an accident. So my bro went home, told my mom that I had just been knocked by a bus in Nairobi. People tell me she really cried. She cried until everyone in the village heard her cry. And they came to our home. And she couldn't be comforted. She cried and she prayed so much. She prayed for me and she called me. When she called me, the friend that I was with picked the phone and I actually spoke to Mom. And I told, no, before then, she first called and my friend told her, harakisheni ako pabaya. And now that's what broke her the most. She really cried and really prayed. And then now she called again and she asked to speak to me and we spoke and I told her we are headed to Guru Nanak Hospital. And now she told me that she thought that was now maybe the final words that I had spoken to her. And she cried again. Okay, I can't explain more about her part, but she really did. So now Dad organized my brother. I was picked. Finally, a taxi accepted to carry me to the hospital. and I went to Guru Nanak Hospital. So the funny thing is, I'm tall, I'm 6'1", if I'm not wrong. And I couldn't fit in the car because I couldn't sit. So I had those guys had to sit and lay me on their lap, and my feet were chomokari now through the window. I couldn't fit in the car. So they carried me to Guru Nanak. They took an X-ray. So sasa, hey, uchungu ilikuwa imekuja even before I was carried off the road. And that's now when I realized that pain can actually kill someone. I'd actually watched a documentary, it's called Hollywood Shootout. And the narrator was saying that the militants are usually trained how to survive when they are hit by a bullet. So for you to stop the bleeding, you have to regulate your breathing. So mimi nilikuwa na breathe kidogo, juu sikuwa nataka heart pump damu, because pain can cause clotting of the blood and then you die. And one thing I say to myself, I didn't want to faint or to pass out. Ati nikuange naambiwa, tulikubeba tukakupeleka hapa I didn't want that to happen. So me, I tried as much as I could to be awake all through. I was taken to Guru Nanak. They did X-ray of me, and then I wanted to know the extent of my injury. So doki akatoka na hiyo scan, hiyo X-ray, ameshika hivi. Nikamuuliza how I'll put pictures of me in Guru Nanak. Nikamuuliza, iko aje? She didn't respond. She asked me, hey, hiyo gari imesimama? Nikamwambia hapana. Nikamwambia kwani iko aje? Akaniambia, hey, you can't be treated here. We have to refer you to Kenyatta. By that time, my brother had called his friends in Nairobi. They had even come to Guru Nanak. Although I don't remember well, because that time nilikuwa pabaya. I even almost passed out when they were lifting me out of the bed to put me on the machine ya kufanyaga X-ray, but I didn't. So they said you have to refer you to Kenyatta. An ambulance came, nikaekwa ndani. That time I've not eaten anything. I had not taken breakfast, I didn't take lunch, and now it's supper. Because I remember I left Guru Nanak at around 10, and I had not been given first aid all that time. You can imagine the pain. And let me tell you, this is let me call it the fulcrum of the body. It's everything. If you want to cough, if you want to talk, if you want to vomit, if you want to do anything, it has to come from your abdomen. So, and that's where I had been hit. I had been broken the pelvic bones. So I couldn't. I remember even when I arrived at Kenyatta at around 11 p.m. in the evening. That time my dad was on the way now to Nairobi from Nyeri. Tumefikishwa Kenyatta, mnajua vile line ya Kenyatta ukua. I've not been attended to. Pain imenishika like sayo na feel sina maji. I was put on drip immediately, and everything I was breathing in and breathing out was tire. Nilikuwa na feel hiyo harufu ya tire. That's what I was breathing in and I was feeling. But I didn't cry all that time. I think God gave me a comfort that it was the peace that is talked in the Bible, that the peace that surpasses all understanding. That's what I had. Although I was in the midst of crisis, I felt that God was always with me. I was around 20 years, if I can remember. Yeah, around 20 years. The pain was too much. Honestly, I usually say I've never felt such pain in my entire life. And I think that's what made me to be who I am. Because as I said when I was starting, the scars is a place where the light enters in. Hey, so me in my life, I had dreams. I was a very good goalkeeper since when I was a young boy, and my dream was to be a goalkeeper, play in the international stadiums, be in the I don't know what. But God had a purpose for me, a different path for me that He had drew. And I believe that even before the foundations of the world, God had drawn a line that I was supposed to follow. Things don't happen for they just don't happen. They all happen for good. And God, before even there was an atom of, before there was the earth, before even I was in His thoughts, He knew there would be a guy, there would be a man called by my name, and this is the path that he will follow. And that was the path that I was supposed to follow then. And there was no excuse. There's no way I could have evaded that. That was the path that He had drawn for me. So, nimefikishwa Kenyatta. Doki hawajanishughulikia. I'm in pain. I remember that time the pain now had come in full force. Because I could not sleep I could not sleep on my back, I could not sleep on my side, I could not sleep on my tummy, I could not sit down. That's how serious it was. I would ask my friends, turn me turn me on my back. I couldn't. Turn me on my tummy. It was really difficult. So finally, and by that time I had not been given first aid. Since I was knocked at around 6:44 in the evening. Till now it's almost 12 and I've not been given first aid. And I was there. So now, finally I was attended to. Doctors examined me if I had internal injuries, all my internal organs, if they were all in place. My bladder was examined. It was all perfect. Everything was perfect and intact, except just the bones where the vehicle had rolled on. So now, I don't remember if I was given first aid, but I was admitted at around 5 in the morning, 5 a.m. That's when I was taken to the ward. And now, mimi nimepelekwa ward asubuhi. Nimeona wanafunzi wa UON wenye wana study medicine and doctor and hao wamekama asubuhi na nurse wamebeba drill. By that time nilikuwa nimevumilia pain mob until hata ungenichuna, hata ungenipigia msumari, I singesikia anything. My body was numb at that time. So they came with a drill, wakanipaka ka spirit kwa goti. Then now wakanidrill hapa. Kutoka hapa ikatokea hapa. Na wakaniweka chuma, it's called traction. Na wakanianika sasa ile design. I was crucified. Then miguu zimewekwa juu na nimewekwa sijui mawe ya kilo ngapi. Put me on traction. Na I've not eaten at that time. Kutoka jana sasa jana, the whole of that Monday. Now it's Tuesday now. My mom wameamua kuja kuniona OC from my village. Wamekuja. I remember mom got in the ward and she broke down. She really cried. And my mom is a very powerful, a prayerful woman. And her prayers really held me, honestly. She prayed for me and she really broke down. The people she came with comforted her and she was all well. That's when now I took my first meal since the day before. I took my first meal on Tuesday at around, that was lunch at around 12. And then finally my dad also came. So sasa niko Kenyatta sasa. No anything, you just put on traction. So my experience in Kenyatta was one I will also never forget. It's an experience that also build me, maybe build my perception of things. And people are happy when doctors are carrying placards and rioting on the streets and saying that we need an increment of our salary and what. And people who have never been in the wards and have never been in the hospitals are happy when doctors are striking. And even some say that, hey, you don't have to go back to work until you're given something. That changed me, honestly. I would never wish a doctor to go on strike. I would never wish that. Because my experience in Kenyatta was one experience that changed my perception of things. If I never saw a doctor at the time that doctors used to visit us, at Kenyatta ward, doctors are like angels. When you see them, you feel the relief. You know that your pain will go away. When you see a nurse, you can't get out of your bed, but you feel that someone has entered the ward. An angel has come. These people are angels, honestly. And because I remember in the ward, I was in the first bed on the right row. The person who was next to me, shout out to my friend Kamau, he had been involved in an accident, an head-on collision he was in a saloon car, and he had been involved in a head-on collision with a lorry. You can imagine how he was, what condition he was in. On the next bed, my friend Mogaka, he had fallen from 4th floor. He was a fundi. On the other one, I don't remember his name, was an old mzee. I remember he used to cry like all the time. I don't know what had happened to him. He later passed on the ward. On my right, I don't remember his name, but he was broken. On the far end was a student at KU who had been hit on Thika Road. And his spinal cord was broken and he could not connect things. And I could remember the guy who was on my right. There's a time he beckoned on me, and I couldn't, because he wanted me to help him, but I couldn't even sit down because I was sleeping. My head was down. I just laughed because there's no way I could have helped him, but he wanted me to maybe help him out. And what, that was the experience in Kenyatta. It's such an experience that you never wished for a doctor to go on strike. Never wished that. So I stayed in Kenyatta for 3 weeks, crucified, head down. I could not eat well. I could not brush my teeth because I was sleeping inclined to my head was down. So we stayed there in Kenyatta. But there's one thing that happened in Kenyatta that also changed my life. Honestly, my experience in that ward, I saw God. Because the love that I got from my friend overwhelmed me, honestly. Even doctors were asking, Kwani, who's this guy? And also, I didn't mention, the guy who was on after my bed, his name was Joshua. He had broken neck. So it's such that the casualty room, the ward where people are brought who had accidents, it's something that if you're weak, you can't be there for a minute. So I used to be there, but the love that I got from my friends is one that I didn't know that I had so many friends, because people knew that I had been knocked and they came in plenty in that ward to come and pay me a visit. Although by that time I didn't care, because I was feeling like, I won't say that I had given up or lost hope, but you're just there. You don't care if anything happens, you're just there. Because I remember people used to hand me money, but when you're in the ward, you're not in your clothes. You're in those robes, those hospital clothes. So there's nowhere the way I could put that money. So I would just put it or drop it on the table, and the cleaner used to just go with them. And people used to give me money. But I didn't care. I didn't need money that time. All that I needed was love and someone to be around me, someone to tell me it's gonna be all right. Only that's what I only needed. I didn't need money that time. So in Kenyatta, it was a very awesome experience, honestly. So tukakaa Kenyatta for 3 weeks. And I was saying the love that I got from Kenyatta was even the nurses. I had a friend of mine, my cousin. She really sacrificed a lot. She almost sacrificed her work just to be with me around in that hospital bed. And it's something that I couldn't explain, that I cannot explain, because when I woke up in the morning, I had a friend of mine who used to study at UN, and she was studying medicine. So she was allowed to be in the ward. So she would come, stay with me in the morning until my mom comes at around 12. Then now she leaves, I stay with mom, and mom goes, and then other friends come. I really had, even people who were wondering, Kwani, who am I? And I was just anyway. And this one nurse in Nairobi also, Kenyatta. I don't remember her name. She came. I didn't know that we used to go in the same church. She came. She took my memory card. Because my brother brought in a memory card and bought me a new phone while I was in Kenyatta, because my phone had broken. So he bought me a new phone and a new memory card, around 16 GB. Then that nurse came, picked the memory card, and went. She put some music, some songs, Only Believe songs, some good songs, just cool music. There's some cool Only Believe songs, and I would listen to those songs. I remember this song that used to inspire me so much, and it really gave me energy. It's called Wounded Soldier.
Wounded soldier, shot by your brother, you can feel the pain down in your bones. Don't you fear now, the battle's nearly over. Your shot's not mortal. Stand on your own. Your suffering is just for a season. Though the wound is bleeding, just lay still. You've been discouraged for is in God's will. Wounded
Though you're down, these battles are just for a moment. You're gonna be up. It really inspired me. So shout out to that doctor. I don't remember your name. She was a doctor at Kenyatta, a nurse at Kenyatta Hospital. And many more doctors from Nairobi Hospital. They used to visit me. Shout out to my cousin Rosebell. She really stood by my side. She was there for me. Words I can't pay her. She really stood there by me. So tukakaa Kenyatta for 3 weeks. You could imagine how it is. How do you go on calls, short calls, long calls, and to there put on traction, your head down, your feet up. You could just imagine how it was. And when you're there, you've slept for the whole day. So even at night, hauna kitu ya kulala because you've already slept. So I remember you could sleep at around at around 6:30 after supper. Then wake up. Waking up, you think it's the next morning, but it's only it's only 8 p.m. in the evening the same day. And you've already slept. You have nothing left. And now the other hours, now it's for you to suffer. So that's how it was in Kenyatta. You sleep, you think you're done, you think it's the next day. Kumbe it's still the same day, you've just slept for 30 minutes. So it's an experience that really taught me a lot. Doctors used to come at the ward at around 8 to give us some medicines and get injections. Yeah. So now this one time when I was there, it was around 1 p.m. A doctor entered the room. He asked, "Who is Joshua Kilelo?" I lifted up my hand. I said, "It's me." He told me, "Joshua, prepare for a long operation." By that time, I didn't care. I didn't care because I felt that I had been through a lot. The pain, the agony in the ward, even mental. I didn't care. So he brought the papers that I was supposed to sign. I didn't even go through them because when you're going to the theater, there are papers that you're supposed to sign. In case you die, in case you don't wake up. Me, I didn't care about those things. I feel I was ready for anything because I had been through a lot. The pain, even the memories of the bus going over me, the memories of me looking face to face with a 52-seater, face to face with a driver who cared, who didn't even care. All those memories, all those flashbacks, all those things, the agony in the ward, my friends around there in pain. I didn't care if I came out alive or not. So I signed the papers. I remember my mom carried everything I was with in the ward, carrying my clothes. And before we arrived to that, so remember this. I was lying on my back on those those hospital beds, the mattresses. They are like a chandarua, something hard. And I had a burn here. Nilikuwa nimechomeka here by the tarmac. Nilikuwa nimechomeka hapa na nilikuwa nimechomeka hapa. So I'm lying on my wound. I lied for 3 weeks, lying on the same wound, lying on my back for 3 weeks. So I couldn't even know how outside looks like. I was there. So the nurse could come, dress up my wound, dress up the one on my arm. Life continues. I didn't care. I had been through a lot. So all those memories and all those things that were happening there, That's why I didn't even care when they were drilling my feet to put me on traction. I didn't even feel the drill going through my bones. I didn't feel it. So I signed those papers and I was ready for operation the following day. So mom carried everything. She took all the shopping, took all the clothes, took everything totally, took it home. I remember asking her, kwani umebeba hivyo, kwani nakufa? That's what I asked her. Because I didn't get why she took everything. So when you go into the theater, you're not supposed to eat. So me, I prepared well. I didn't care if I came out alive or not. But I knew God had a purpose with me. I had that in the back of my mind. So sorry. So the day arrived. The doctors came for me at around 8 in the morning. I remember the guy who had a broken neck. He called me and told me, Joshua, sukifika huko utasalimiana. He meant that if I don't come back, I say hi to the people, them that I find in heaven. I didn't care. I told him it's okay. And we laughed. And I was carried away. I was taken to theater. So I got to the room where the operation is done. The doctors were there. And I think I was operated by a doctor from Israel, if I can remember well, because he operated me and went back. That was it. I was operated after 3 weeks, and I had the accident on the 31st of September. So 3 weeks, we're in October, like the end of October. So I was put there, and that I remember myself being pushed in that hospital bed, and I felt like I was alive again. I could breathe maybe some fresh air away from the ward. You know how a ward is very stuffy, vomit, injections, medicine, all those things. So I arrived in the theater. For the first time, I had at least moved out of the ward to maybe the next. So now there, they gave me the anesthetic. They gave me, kwa Kiswahili inaitwa nusu kaputi. They gave me the nusu kaputi. I don't remember, I can't pronounce it. They gave me the nusu kaputi. So I don't want to say I'd given up, because I had not, but I didn't care. I remember I took one deep breath of it, a deep one, because I wanted to sleep. They do this thing, we see how it comes out. I took the first breath, the second one, they took it away. And I was there now, a very sweet sleep. I still remember even up to today. A very sweet sleep. I felt comfort, then I slept. That was around 9 something in the morning. I slept. So, sleeping, I don't know what happened. They did their magic, but it was a long one. Because I remember people used to call doctors. My cousin who was in Nairobi, they used to call her, is he out of the theater? No. At around 5 in the evening, is he out? No. 7 in the evening, is he out? No. And they panicked. They knew I've gone, I've not woken up. Then now at around 8, what I can remember is I felt uncomfortable on my throat. Like something was being inserted inside my throat. Then that's when then I woke up. Because I woke up, I couldn't speak well. And then I asked my cousin, who is a doctor, I asked her, what was happening with my throat? She told me when you're woken up and like you're not waking up, that they caused some discomfort on your throat for you to wake up. So they inserted something on my throat, tried to dunga me, then I woke up. It was around 8 something. That's when now she called home, told them I'm out of the theater. They were happy, they rejoiced. Me, I didn't know what had happened, and I didn't even care, honestly. Me, I didn't know. Was carried to the bed, taken back to the theater. And I stayed there the following morning, and for the first time, I slept well. Then now when I woke up, then because there's a nurse who used to come and dress my wound where I had been cut, because those doctors really did magic on my body, because I have so many screws on my body, like over 20, over 30. The last time I counted, I don't remember, because I have the x-ray. I have so many, some long screws that try to connect my bones that I had crushed. So they did their magic. That's when I woke up. I had a bottles of blood where when you bleed, there's like a tube that they put on you that excretes the waste, the blood, water that comes out of your body. So it goes to a container. And for the first time in a month, I could sit down. First time in a month, I could lay on my back. And when I feel tired, I could turn by myself. Although it was difficult in a way, I could turn and sleep on my belly. I even stood. I remember I tried to stand because I felt nimepata kanguvu. I remember I stood, but I could not make a step. But that was enough for me because I had been sleeping for so long. And then I was there making jokes with my friends in the ward, but I wanted to go home. I really wanted to go home. And for the first time, I could even peep through the window and see the view.
Your suffering is just for a season, though the wound is bleeding, just lay still. You've been discouraged for a reason. Where you're laying is in God's will. Wounded soldier of the Bible, you have fought the daily battle, but your heart break, it will be mended. Wounded soldier, your God is great. Wounded soldier, rock of ages, heavy laden, he answers prayer. Bandaged hard times come with this union. Don't drop your weapon. The bar